G'day team, Aaron here from Guess His Adventures, and on today's episode we're going to conduct an Adventure Tech review of the XTM air compressor. So everyone should know that an air compressor is one of the most important pieces of four-wheel drive equipment that you need for any condition, any terrain, and obviously it helps maintain the track's conditions. It assists in stopping corrugations, as well as digging up the track in that big wombat style holes that you see around a lot of the tracks in the southwest of WA. I bought the XTM air compressor from BCF about 3 or 4 months ago now. I bought it through necessity as my old one died. It's one of the pieces of equipment that I've always had for four-wheel driving, and it's literally the first piece of equipment that anyone realistically should buy for four-wheel driving, other than like a deflator or system to actually let the tyres down. My old air compressor died on me about 3 or 4 months ago, and what was happening is it was basically just taking longer to fill or inflate the tyres than any of the other compressors that I've had. And what had happened is the head gasket on one of the sides, because it was a dual-sided compressor, had started to leak. That ended up overheating and burning out and affecting the cylinder head. So with effect, I basically lost 50% capacity because the one side of it had burnt out. And as a result, I headed down to BCF and purchased myself the XTM compressor for about 120 bucks. And yeah, it's been good relatively ever since. So the XTM air compressor is available from BCF as well as Supercheap Auto, I think, and they do range in price from about that $119-ish up to about $200. I purchased mine for $119 with a discount, and I think it was just like one of those pre-Christmas sales. They're relatively similar to a number of other compressors, so the June compressor from Anaconda and the Thumper, and there's, I think, Redhead is another brand. They all look relatively similar. They've all got the same specifications, and realistically they probably came out the same factory from overseas prior to coming here. So as a whole, I suggest that they're likely the same, but for this one it is the XTM actual. So specifications of the XTM air compressor: it is alloy construction, including an alloy cylinder head. It's got the single 60mm cylinder on the right hand side there and an alloy piston shank. A nice thing about this system is it has an 8-meter inflation lead. Inside the head of the cylinder, you can screw the top of that off, and there's a sponge in here where you can actually clean the air filter prior to any inflation. There's a circuit breaker within the system which you can reset, so just hidden under here. Out of the way, so you can reset the system if required, if it trips, as well as the standard on-off switch. This one comes with the little alligator clips to plug straight onto your battery, and obviously when you run it, because it draws so much power, run it when the car is on. As I mentioned earlier, it's 150 psi maximum pressure, 160 litres per minute airflow, and then the cables associated with the alligator clips there, they're 2 meters long, and there's a 60 amp inline fuse. So setup is literally one of the most easy things you can do. You get the alligator clips, positive and negative onto the battery terminal. Obviously hooking up the air compressor down here, hose on, and then onto the tyre, flicker on. And like I said, 2 minutes 15-ish for my 33s. And we're good to go. So pros and cons of the system. So pros, obviously price. The $120 that it's worth is really good. The airline, I do like the airline. I've had, I think they're like the coiled airlines that you see with a lot of the other systems, and you find what will happen is at the end of the compressor itself, because it generates so much heat, what will happen is the airline itself gets quite hot, and will burst through. So you always find yourself repairing the coiled airline, and you know, you're chopping like 4 inches off every time to make it work for the next tire. With my old system, I used to only get 2 or 3 tires out of the way before being able to have to repair the airline. This one being the single airline as well as not coiled, so it doesn't stretch, obviously alleviates that issue. Another thing that I really do like about it is the end of it is a screw-on fitting rather than a clip-on, so you can literally screw it on, walk away and do whatever you have to do whilst inflating the tires. Other pros are the pump rate. For me to get a 33-inch tire pumped from 18 psi, which is sort of beach and sand conditions, it only takes about maybe 2 minutes and 15 seconds ish, so pretty good overall. My old system used to take about maybe 3 minutes, but chalk and cheese, obviously that was dying a slow death, and because of that I didn't really realize that the rate that was slowing down so drastically. So within 15 minutes off the beach you can be pumped up fully and on the road again with no issues whatsoever. So cons of the system is it's quite large and bulky, which isn't a bad thing. With the other system that I had, it obviously had the issues with the air hose, and as a result I was carrying another 10-meter length of air hose for preventative measure, so it didn't burnt out because it was a fixed air hose rather than the coiled air hose. Another issue that's been raised, I think the old ones might have come with a carry bag, and they no longer come with a carry bag. So if you don't just leave it in your car in a drawer or something like that, you're going to be restricted the way you can maneuver it around. And if you're one of those persons that empties their car after every 4-wheel drive trip to get it ready for work throughout the week or something like that, it may not be for you without that carry bag, or you'll have to buy an alternative carry bag option from one of the canvas shops around to get it into your garage or shed or whatever. As with a lot of these systems, the gauge that's on the airline hose, it's okay, but it is inaccurate. So you have to find where you actually need to pump your vehicle up to. So easiest way to do that for me is go to the servo, fill your car up to 38, 40 PSI or whatever you normally run at, and then plug in your airline hose and figure out where the error is and make adjustments from there. And obviously when you're running it, there's a further error on the gauge. So I think I pumped mine up to apparently 52 PSI according to this gauge. Once I turn it off, it sort of aligns somewhere between that 38 and 40, and then I just go to the servo and get them all equal as required. It gets quite hot, they all do. I actually don't find this one as hot as the old system that I had, because it's only one side that gets hot now because the compressor's only on that single side. But the air hose, as a result of that, also gets quite hot. Once again, I'm used to that, so I'm not really concerned too much. Obviously, if you have a fitted one into your car, you may not realize the heat because it's, you know, maybe located in the engine space or on a chair or something like that, and it's got the airflow. But all I do is I end up leaving it out of the drawers for half hour after I pump up, and then chuck them in the drawers when I get home or whatever. Because of that heat, a lot of it's transferred into the first sort of 2 or 3 foot of the air hose, and it does get quite hot. Like, I have to get a rag to pull it off the compressor after pumping 4 33-inch tires up. And I have read that some people had issues with their hoses becoming sticky. I have had that, but I literally just run that same rag over it, and since then I haven't had that stickiness of the hose. So it might be that first sort of like outer layer is deteriorated a little bit and become sticky. I've wiped it off and now it's fine again. So no further issues with me on the con side of things. So in conclusion, my old compressor wasn't really that great, and so far I'm really enjoying having this new compressor, and the reliability is starting to show a little bit with that, and it saved me a fair bit of time with pump rate of that, because it doesn't have that deteriorating side in the cylinder head. For the price, the XTM compressor itself, I feel it's sort of almost hard to pass up. If you're going to go for a compressor that's in that lower end of the market but the higher end of reliability, I think this is the one you want to go for. BCF is pretty good with the return policies and refunds and such if there's a faulty mechanism on there. And as a result, yeah, I highly recommend this product. Just the way that it is and the way that I use the compressor to try and save the tracks, it's just working. It's helping out a lot, and so far the reliability, I can't fault that. Well, I hope you enjoy this video. I'm still trying to get a lot of these Adventure Tech videos out, as well as my trips. Obviously we got stuck with a snappy week-long lockdown and then the restrictions that we had up until this morning. So this is the first time that we've been able to leave that Perth Peel area, so we're obviously down the beach fishing on Valentine's Day. But yeah, I hope you enjoy these videos, and we'll try and keep getting them out there as soon as we can. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. And don't forget, I've also got almost daily content on my Instagram handle. Cheers guys, stay safe.